The 1990s weren't just about the blockbusters. Yes, it was the decade of massive box office explosions, CGI breakthroughs, and cultural phenomena that swallowed the spotlight. But while theaters were packed for franchise giants, dozens of bold, brilliant films slipped quietly through the cracks. Some were released the same weekend as juggernauts. Some were too strange for mainstream marketing. Some were simply ahead of their time. They weren't failures. They were buried, overshadowed by louder, flashier competition. And decades later, they feel fresher than many of the hits that eclipsed them. These are the top 10 criminally underrated 90s movies buried by blockbusters.
Dark City, 1998. Released just months before The Matrix rewrote sci-fi history, Dark City never stood a chance at the box office. Directed by Alex Proyas, the film follows a man who wakes up with no memory in a city where reality itself is manipulated nightly. The production design is stunning, Gothic architecture drenched in perpetual night. Rufus Sewell anchors the film with haunted intensity, while Kiefer Sutherland delivers an eerie supporting performance. The ideas about identity and control are ambitious and philosophical. Unfortunately, its marketing struggled to explain what the film actually was. When The Matrix arrived with slick action and revolutionary effects, Dark City was quickly forgotten. But visually and thematically, it remains one of the most daring sci-fi films of the decade. It deserved the spotlight. It got buried instead.
The Insider, 1999. Michael Mann delivered one of the sharpest dramas of the decade, and audiences barely showed up. Released the same year as The Sixth Sense and Fight Club, The Insider was overshadowed by flashier titles. Starring Russell Crowe and Al Pacino, the film chronicles the true story of a tobacco industry whistleblower. The tension doesn't come from action, but from corporate intimidation and journalistic ethics. Mann turns boardrooms into battlegrounds. Crowe delivers a layered performance filled with fear and resolve. It was nominated for multiple Academy Awards, yet it never became part of mainstream 90s nostalgia. Perhaps because it demands patience. There are no explosive set pieces, just escalating moral stakes. It's one of the decade's most intelligent dramas, quietly outclassed by louder cultural moments.
The 13th Floor, 1999. Another casualty of the Matrix effect, The 13th Floor explored simulated reality just weeks after audiences had already chosen their cyberpunk champion. Directed by Joseph Rusnak, the film dives into virtual worlds layered within other virtual worlds. Craig Bierko leads the story with understated confusion as reality fractures around him. Instead of stylized martial arts and bullet time, the film leans into noir aesthetics and philosophical mystery. Its ideas about artificial worlds and identity are surprisingly sophisticated, but marketing couldn't compete with the revolutionary visuals dominating pop culture that year. Viewers dismissed it as a knockoff rather than recognizing its distinct tone. Today, revisiting it feels like discovering an alternate timeline of late 90s sci-fi, moodier, slower, and more existential than its competition. A Simple Plan, 1998. Released the same year as Saving Private Ryan and Armageddon, this quiet thriller was drowned out by spectacle. Directed by Sam Raimi, A Simple Plan follows three men who discover a crashed plane filled with cash. What begins as a lucky break slowly spirals into paranoia and betrayal. Bill Paxton gives a deeply human performance as an ordinary man undone by greed. The snow-covered Minnesota setting adds bleak isolation to every decision. There are no elaborate action sequences, just moral collapse unfolding step by step. It's tense because it feels plausible. Each choice makes sense in the moment, which makes the consequences devastating. Overshadowed at release, it now stands as one of the most disciplined and psychologically gripping thrillers of the decade. Gattaca, 1997. In a decade obsessed with spectacle, Gattaca chose quiet precision. Directed by Andrew Niccol, the film imagines a future where genetic perfection determines social status. Ethan Hawke stars as a man fighting systemic discrimination by assuming another identity. Uma Thurman and Jude Law add emotional depth to the sleek, minimalist world. Released the same year as Titanic, it was inevitably overshadowed. Yet its themes of bioethics and inequality feel more relevant now than ever. The production design avoids flashy futurism in favor of timeless elegance. It's not loud, it's thoughtful. And that subtlety may have cost it mainstream dominance. Today, it stands as one of the most intelligent science fiction films of the 90s.
The Game, 1997. Directed by David Fincher between Seven and Fight Club, The Game often gets overlooked in his filmography. Michael Douglas plays a wealthy banker drawn into a mysterious, life-altering experience that blurs the line between performance and reality. The film thrives on paranoia and escalating uncertainty. Fincher's meticulous direction creates a constant sense of unease. Every scene feels like part of a larger manipulation. But sandwiched between two cultural phenomena, it rarely gets the same recognition. It lacks the serial killer shock of Seven and the anarchic energy of Fight Club. Instead, it's a psychological puzzle box, smart, stylish, and endlessly rewatchable, yet often forgotten in conversations about the decade's best thrillers.
Strange Days, 1995. Cyberpunk rarely felt this raw. Directed by Kathryn Bigelow and written by James Cameron, Strange Days is set in a dystopian Los Angeles on the brink of the year 2000. The story revolves around illegal recordings that allow users to experience other people's memories. Ralph Fiennes plays a morally slippery dealer navigating chaos and conspiracy. The film blends tech paranoia with social unrest and police corruption. Its gritty tone and political themes may have been too intense for mainstream audiences in 1995. It also struggled against lighter holiday releases, but its first-person sequences were groundbreaking and immersive. Over time, Strange Days has gained recognition as a visionary piece of 90s sci-fi, one that was simply too bold and volatile for its moment.
The Iron Giant, 1999. Released during a summer dominated by franchise giants, The Iron Giant quietly became one of animation's greatest achievements. Directed by Brad Bird, the film tells the story of a boy who befriends a massive robot during the Cold War. Its emotional sincerity sets it apart from louder animated competitors. The voice work, including Vin Diesel as the Giant, is understated and heartfelt. Poor marketing contributed to its initial box office disappointment, but over time, it developed a passionate fan base. Its themes of identity, fear, and choice resonate deeply. It's not just a children's film, it's a meditation on humanity. Overshadowed in 1999, it's now widely considered a masterpiece that deserved far more attention on release. L.A. Confidential, 1997. Released the same year Titanic dominated the box office, L.A. Confidential struggled to compete commercially, despite critical acclaim. Directed by Curtis Hanson, the neo-noir follows three very different cops navigating corruption in 1950s Los Angeles. Russell Crowe, Guy Pearce, and Kevin Spacey deliver layered performances in a tightly constructed narrative. The film is stylish without feeling artificial. Its screenplay is sharp, weaving multiple storylines into a satisfying conclusion. Though it won Oscars, it often gets overshadowed in casual 90s movie discussions by flashier hits. It's intelligent, adult, and meticulously crafted, a crime epic that deserved even more cultural dominance than it received. Ravenous, 1999. Cannibal horror mixed with dark comedy isn't an easy sell. Directed by Antonia Bird, Ravenous blends frontier survival with psychological dread. Guy Pearce plays a soldier stationed at a remote 19th century outpost where something far more disturbing than winter hunger lurks. The film's offbeat score and tonal shifts confused audiences expecting straightforward horror. Released amid bigger, safer studio films, it struggled commercially. Yet its originality is exactly what makes it memorable. It's unsettling, unpredictable, and strangely humorous. Over time, it has earned cult status as one of the boldest genre experiments of the late 90s. At release, it was buried. Today, it feels refreshingly fearless.
The 90s gave us legends, but it also hid masterpieces in their shadows. These films weren't failures, they were outshined. Revisit them now, and they feel sharper than ever. Sometimes, the best movies are the ones history almost forgot.